Imagine you are walking into your living room after a long, exhausting day. Your cat is perched by the window, silhouetted against the fading light. You've been looking forward to this moment all afternoon. The soft purr, the familiar weight in your lap, the simple comfort of their company. But as you approach, something feels different. Instead of meeting your gaze with their usual curious tilt of the head, they give a subtle flick of their tail and quietly slip into the next room before you can even reach out. You might wonder if they're just being moody or if they've simply found a more interesting sunspot, but there is often a deeper, more silent narrative unfolding in that space between you. We often assume that because our cats live in our homes, they should naturally align with our human ways of showing affection. We view them through our own emotional lens, assuming that what brings us comfort must surely do the same for them. However, cats are masters of subtle boundaries, and sometimes the very things we do out of a sincere desire to love them are the things that cause them to retreat into a protective shell. There is a hidden fracture in the connection, built not from a lack of care, but from a fundamental misunderstanding of their silent psychological world. To bring them back into your orbit, we have to uncover the mistakes we didn't even know we were making. The real reason they're pulling away isn't found in a lack of love, but in the moments we often take for granted, the tiny daily interactions that whisper to a cat that their world isn't as safe or predictable as it should be. It begins with the most common human instinct, the desire for physical closeness on our own terms. We see our cats sleeping or grooming, and we can't resist the urge to scoop them up for a spontaneous hug. But what many people don't realize is that for a cat, being lifted off the ground is a profound loss of autonomy. In their ancestral memory, leaving the solid earth usually meant being caught by a predator. When we constantly force physical intimacy, we aren't just giving a hug. We are inadvertently triggering a tiny spike of cortisol, a stress hormone. Over time, your cat begins to associate your approach not with comfort, but with a loss of control. They aren't pulling away because they don't love you. They are pulling away to protect their sense of agency. They are waiting for a relationship where the touch is invited, not imposed. But that's only part of the story, because even the way we speak and inhabit our shared space can create an invisible barrier. We tend to use high-pitched, loud baby voices to express our affection, but a cat's hearing is significantly more sensitive than our own, designed to pick up the ultrasonic rustle of prey in the grass. What sounds like a joyful greeting to us can sound like a chaotic, vibrating intrusion to them. High-frequency noises and sudden loud exclamations keep a cat in a state of low-level hypervigilance. If your home is a place of constant sensory, surprising moments, a cat will naturally seek out the quietest, most isolated corners to regulate their own nervous system. They aren't being antisocial, they are simply looking for a sanctuary from a world that feels a little too loud to handle. What many people don't realize is that a cat's sense of safety is tied directly to their scent, and we often accidentally erase their identity from their own home. We take pride in a house that smells like citrus, lavender, or fresh linen, using heavy detergents and scented plugins to maintain a standard of cleanliness. But to a cat, these scents are like a thick chemical fog that masks their own scent map. They mark their territory with subtle facial pheromones to tell themselves, "I am safe here." When we overwrite those marks with powerful artificial fragrances, the cat feels like a stranger in their own living room. They may pull away from common areas simply because those areas no longer feel like home. They feel like a foreign environment that belongs to someone else. They are retreating to the one closet or corner where they can still smell themselves. And sometimes, the mistake is found in the way we handle their most vulnerable moments, specifically the intensity of our gaze. In the human world, direct eye contact is a sign of honesty, attention, and connection. In the feline world, a prolonged, unblinking stare is a direct challenge, a sign of an impending hunt, or a display of dominance. When you stare at your cat with wide, intense eyes, you might think you're showing interest, but your cat may interpret it as a psychological pressure. It makes them feel watched rather than seen. Those who learn to soften their gaze, to blink slowly, or to look away first are sending a powerful signal of peace. By refusing to stare, you are telling your cat that you are not a threat, allowing them to finally lower their guard and approach you on their own terms. There is also a surprising part to the play dynamic that many owners get wrong, often without realizing the long-term psychological cost. We often use our hands or feet to wrestle with our kittens, thinking it's a harmless and cute way to bond. But as the cat grows, this teaches them that human skin is a toy and a target. When the cat inevitably scratches or bites too hard and we react with frustration, a loud "no," or a sudden movement, the cat becomes deeply confused. They don't understand why the game they were taught to play suddenly results in a negative reaction from the person they trust. This inconsistency creates a predictability gap. If a cat cannot predict your emotional reaction, they will choose the safest option, keeping their distance to avoid a conflict they don't understand. What many people don't realize is that the most damaging mistake is the punishment trap. Cats do not have the cognitive hardware to understand delayed punishment or moral lessons. If you come home to a scratched sofa and scold them, they don't connect the scold to an event that happened hours ago. They simply connect the scolding to you walking through the door. This creates a heartbreaking cycle where the owner's arrival becomes a source of anxiety rather than joy. Instead of learning not to scratch the furniture, the cat learns that you are unpredictable and sometimes mean for no reason they can grasp. This erosion of trust is one of the fastest ways to turn a cuddly companion into a distant, a wary roommate who stays just out of reach. But the real reason for the distance might be found in the subtle violation of their safe zones. Every cat needs a place where they know they will never be touched, a specific bed, a high shelf, or a certain box. When we reach into those spaces to pull them out for a vet visit or just because we want to see them, we destroy the sanctuary status of that location. If a cat feels that nowhere in the house is truly private, they will become increasingly stressed and withdrawn. They love you, but they also love the security of knowing they have a choice. When that choice is taken away, the bond begins to fray, and they pull away to find a new, even more hidden place where they can truly be alone. Finally, we often fail to recognize that cats thrive on a specific kind of rhythmic life. While humans often crave variety and surprises, a cat's psychological well-being is tied to the comfort of the known. When we constantly change their furniture layout, move their food bowls, or introduce sudden changes to their routine, we create a world of micro-stressors. A cat who feels their world is in constant flux will pull away as a coping mechanism. They aren't being difficult, they are trying to find a sense of stability that they feel is missing. They love the person who provides the rhythm, the one who understands that in a cat's world, the most beautiful thing is a day that goes exactly as expected. As you begin to step back and look at these interactions through their eyes, the mystery of their distance begins to dissolve. You realize that your cat hasn't changed their feelings for you. They've simply been responding to a series of social errors they couldn't explain. The shift from human-centric affection to feline-centric respect is a quiet but powerful transformation. You start to notice that by giving them more space, they actually start to take up more space in your life. By choosing not to pick them up, you find them jumping into your lap more often. By quieting your voice and softening your gaze, you begin to hear the subtle purr that was always there, waiting to be noticed in the stillness. Gradually, the tension in the home begins to lift. You've stopped trying to own their affection and started to earn it through consistency and calm. It's a lesson in the beauty of a quiet, steady presence. You realize that a cat's love isn't something that can be demanded or chased. It is something that must be invited with a soft hand and a respectful heart. You've stopped making the mistakes that were pushing them away, and in the silence that follows, a new kind of bond begins to grow. One that is built on the foundation of mutual understanding and the profound safety of being truly respected. Take a moment to look at your cat across the room. Don't call them, don't stare, and don't move toward them. Just exist in the same space. acknowledging their right to be exactly where they are. You might find that in that moment of doing nothing, you are actually doing everything right. When you stop chasing, they stop running. And eventually you'll feel that soft, familiar weight return to your side. Not because you asked for it, but because they finally feel safe enough to give it. You've discovered that the secret to a cat's heart isn't found in the grand gestures, but in the things you choose not to do. It's a quiet realization that the most meaningful connection is the one where both souls feel free to be exactly who they are, without the pressure to perform or the fear of being misunderstood. As the house goes quiet, you realize that the distance has closed, and the silence between you is no longer a gap, it's a bridge.